Hi, hello, welcome back. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time. I'm assuming because you clicked on this video, you probably want to read something spooky, but then you don't want something really spooky, because if not, you'd be reading something like horror, but you want like something, the vibes for autumn and fall and all that. So I've compiled a bunch of recommendations because I also am a bit of a chicken and I don't want to read anything too scary, too, but like, I want to join the vibes like everyone booktube. You see people like talking about their different horror reads and everything, and so I just wanted to get into the vibes but not be like traumatized or damaged anyway. So oops, sorry. Okay, so my first rec would be The Helm of Midnight. I read this last month. So basically we have this world where there are these masks and then people can basically imbue. So when people are about to die, basically they imbue whatever special talent that they had into the masks. And basically we have this this serial killer who has a death mask, basically, and then somebody steals that mask, and then basically the serial killers, somebody starts killing in the pattern of the serial killer, basically, because they stole his mask. Anyway, so yeah, serial killers, fantasy world. I mean, yeah. And then we're following this detective who's trying to figure out, who stole the mask and the big larger conspiracy behind it. Anyway, so yeah, again, this one isn't too scary. I really enjoyed it. I really liked how it dwelt on like grief and loss and how these things can really like change, shape us and change us. So yeah, it was interesting and it wasn't too gory. I think there was only like one scene where I was like, but then it wasn't too scary. It was just like a mystery, really a murder mystery. So yeah. The second book I'll be recommending is House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. Would I call this fantasy? Mm, sort of. Maybe just say it has like speculative or fantastical elements. And so basically we're following these three sisters, and so basically for 1 month when they were younger they disappeared for a month and nobody knew where they were, and then a month later, yeah, they basically reappeared, and so they reappeared changed, and so basically now we're following them in the present day, and then the eldest sister has gone missing, and so we're trying to find out, they're basically trying to figure out where their sister has gone, and also we begin to see what happened in the 1 month where they disappeared. Anyway, uh, yeah, this was. I think I read this yesterday, so I should have more thoughts. Um, it was it wasn't spooky as well. It was, but it wasn't scary. Again, I think that's the theme for most of the books I'm recommending here. But it was really interesting. I like the way we peeled back because Gray, the elder sister, is this very like mysterious, very enchanting figure, and I really like the fact that we pulled back the layers on her. Basically, I like books like that where you're like unraveling like this mysterious figure. And so that's what we see in Grey. This book is about like, the intense, because this book centers a very intense relationship between these three sisters, and I really liked that. I also liked how, because this book has like a lot of description of like contrasting beauty with like rot and decay, and how like this idea that beauty can be dangerous, and like, like how in nature, for example, like brightly colored frogs or something like that could be really poisonous. So I really like that idea, and how the sisters are so like beautiful, but they're also quite dangerous. So I really like that idea, basically. And I like the descriptions. The descriptions almost made, I wouldn't say like, I want to go nauseous, but the descriptions are like, ooh, and just like very like nature horror things decaying. There's like mushy stuff, squelchy. I don't know, but basically, yeah. So if you want something, but nothing too like disgusting where you're like, "Bleh," but yeah. So I would also recommend House of Hollow. Then the next book I want to recommend is The Library at Mount Char. This is like probably one of my favorite weird books ever, because going into it, like I've seen reviews and stuff where it is weird. It is weird, really, actually. But I don't think I would. I thought because it'd be so weird, I wouldn't really be able to like maybe connect to the characters, or I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest. Because the synopsis is pretty wild. Did I? Okay, I did explain. I'm not being nice. Yes. So the synopsis is like pretty wild because we basically have these siblings. I genuinely don't know how to describe it to you properly, but we have these siblings and they reside in a library and they have this father figure like a guardian, and in the book it seems like he's god or something, can't tell you, but anyway, and they all have different catalogs, but then one day things that they learn, and they can't like anyway, yes, so different catalogs. And then one day their father, because they call him father, goes missing, and yeah, they have to figure out what happened and who's going to take control of the library, basically. Yeah, so I didn't really expect to, because going this, I was just like, huh? But then I really, really like the characters. I like yes, especially we are following kind of three main POVs, I guess. But just going to the first few chapters are going to be like, what's going on here? What are we talking about? But I really, really enjoyed it. Basically, I really like the. I feel like what helped is because I feel like we really understood the characters, their motivations and stuff. So it's very easy to latch onto them and just follow them throughout the story. I just want to say that I support women's wrongs completely. Women's rights are women's wrong. I clear with this book. Woo! Although I will say, going to it, I can't. There's a lot of like pretty gruesome stuff that happens. Actually, now that I think about it, so maybe check your trigger warnings before you want to read it. But this is a very unique book, I think. And if you're looking for something, because I guess it's fantasy, I guess. But if you want to look for something very unique, something you haven't tried, definitely give this a go. I want to spooky read. I think so. This is like one of my favorites. When I finished reading, I was just like, I didn't really expect to love it the way that I did. So yeah, this is basically me recommending it to you. But check your trigger warnings because it can be a lot. Oh, and also it had like my favorite. Is this a spoiler? Mm, you know what? No, actually, but just read it. It's pretty good. I think that would be a spoiler. Then the next book on my list is House of Salt and Sorrows. So this one's basically a retelling of the loose retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses. I really like Erin A. Craig's writing. I feel like it was very like atmospheric. It felt very, like I felt like I was in like a big manor with the cliffs and the sea and everything. So I think that's like a really big strength. Like I really felt like I was immersed in that world. Yeah, I do think that I really like the main character as well, Anale. But I think because there were so many, because the 12 sisters, I don't know. I don't know if it took away from my enjoyment because obviously because you have so many like a large cast of characters, you couldn't really like fully develop all of them. Because I read another book of hers which I like, this is good, but I prefer that one much more. So I think that book had less characters, so you could focus more on people. Anyway, that is to say, I enjoyed this one. I liked it. But oh, there's something that happens with the love interest that I find that I don't like. And I also noticed it's a pattern in her other book as well. She does, and I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about this. I can't tell you because it'd be a spoiler. But if you want something spooky, gothic, the manor, and then things are going on with girls. And I really like how the she writes like somebody losing, not like losing their mind, but losing their grasp on reality and not knowing what was real. Because I was reading, I was just like, what is happening? Is this real? Is this not? Like, what's going on? So I really enjoyed that for like the vibes. Although I will say that when we find out who the big bad is, I discounted it because I thought, oh, this would be too obvious. And so finally I was like, oh, I don't know if I wanted more out of the reveal of the big bad because I thought it would be, I don't know. Anyway, I did enjoy it. Just like I have a couple of things I'm like, it's not my favorite. I didn't love it, but I think the vibes and the atmosphere and everything for like fall is top notch. Although the thing I noticed, I want to read her third book, House of Root and Ruin, because this has a sequel as well. So if you're interested, if you really like it, and I think you can read the sequel without reading the first one. I guess you get spoiled on I think the romance or something, and who lives and dies, I guess. So oh wait, I didn't even properly describe. So I said it's a like horror retelling of 12 dancing princesses, and so basically we have this 12 siblings, and basically they each start dying one by one. And yeah, so we basically follow one of the siblings who try to figure out what is going on, and then we begin to see like ghosts and all that. So yeah, I would recommend. Yeah, I only had a couple of things I think about it, but I would recommend. God, I'm talking about it for so long. Anyway, then the next book I want to recommend is The Bone Orchard. um I guess this is not really. It feels horror. No, it's not horror, but it deals with. It's basically necromancy. So basically, we're following this courtesan, like the emperor's mistress, and she's basically tasked with finding out who killed the emperor. And so basically, there's a lot of like, it's basically a murder mystery, and there's like court intrigue and politics trying to figure out what happened. And basically, the three main suspects are the king's sons, and so she has to figure out which one of them could have done it. Yeah. So I guess with the necromancy, I don't know, just reading it, it just really fits that, and there's this bone orchard with bones and everything. So it really fits that vibe, but it's nothing too spooky or too scary. But it does give that vibe of, I don't know, horror, I guess. Horror autumn vibes. I don't know, but yeah, so I would recommend. Although I will say going into this book is, I should probably warn you that the first, again, this I feel like I'm recommending a bunch of really confusing books. I don't know why, but I would say going into this, the first pages, the first few pages are a lot, because the author basically throws you into like world, like into the world. Like you won't get like an explanation. She'll just say certain terms like bone ghost or something. I was just like, what does this mean? But I think stick it out. If it intrigues you at all, I think stick it out, because I feel like it was worth it. Although I'll say at the end, I was like, there were like one or two things I was like, I actually didn't get an answer for that. But all in all, it felt like a well-rounded. It concluded nicely. That's what I'm basically trying to say, even though I had like maybe one or two questions. But I still really enjoyed it. And yeah, it had like one of my most infuriating characters. Also, reading these in this list, like I was just like so many characters that were pissing me off. Yeah. Anyway, then the next book I'm recommending is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshni Chokshi. I just read this today actually. So in this book, we have he's called the bridegroom, and then he basically marries this heiress, this beautiful, mysterious heiress, against another book where we have this very like mysterious, intriguing figure, and we're trying to like pull back the layers and figure out like what's the mystery of her basically. And so he's this man, he's a professor, he believes in fairy tales, and then he marries this woman, and then she gives him this one rule where he's not to pry into her past. And I think this is like a Bluebeard retelling. Anyway, so this book is like a book about, this is very much a dark fairy tale in the same way of House of Hollow. Actually, it's a very dark fairy tale. It's really, the emphasis in this book is a lot on fairy tales and how like fairy tales, just the way analyzing fairy tales basically. And so basically we have, how many times do I say basically? Anyway, we have these two timelines. So we're following the present with the bridegroom and Indigo, and then we're following Indigo's past with this friend. And then honestly, the horror of this book comes from Indigo's past with her friend, because they are following this very toxic, very codependent relationship. And honestly, like some of the things I read, I was like, the relationship made me extremely uncomfortable. They're very, very dependent on each other, and it's just like, yeah, this very icky relationship. But then at the same time, it's like, anyway, yeah, that's it. I will say the writing is very, very flowery, very, very, lots of metaphors and these things. I liked it, I think, but it might annoy some people. I think it's either you like it or you hate it. And also I think some people might not like the bride. I really like the bridegroom's perspective. I was like, oh, okay. And I like what was going on with him and his whole, okay, I can't say anything because that'll be a spoiler. But yes, oh, I wanted to give like, you know what, I think I should actually annotate properly, because I underlined some lines I actually wanted to read. And there's this particular line where I was like, I can see why this might annoy someone, because there were a couple of lines where I was like, it's a bit much, I think. But in general, ooh, oh, like where she's okay. I like this line where it says, "I have since learned that marriage is nothing more than a spell strengthened by daily ritual." Like it just had so many like lines where I was like, where a memory can be a truth that you cannot accept, or a lie that I cannot let go of. Like I just really liked the writing. I feel like it either works for you or it does. Or like this one where it says, some individuals are like portals. The knowing of them can make the world a far vaster place. I just think that that's like really romantic. Anyway, these are a couple of lines. I guess if that sounds interesting to you. But there was one where I wanted to show where I was like, ugh, even this one was a bit much for me. This is the one line where I was like, I'm not sure about this. Oops. So basically it says, the air smelled of heartbroken daffodils crushed by April's rain. So that can be, everyone else was like, But anyway, all in all, I really enjoyed the writing, and I really liked reading about and it was very gothic, very haunting. We have this house where it's like alive, but kind of. And yeah, I really, really, I'm like, is this real? Is this happening? Anyway, so I really enjoyed it. And I'll say, again, this is not like a recommendation or anything. It's just a self brag. The plot twist, I saw it coming. I don't know, I was reading it, and I was just like, imagine if, and then it was, and I was like, I'm so smart. Anyway, yeah. Oops, sorry. Anyway, so yeah, that's the last ever before our bride. Then we have The Weight of Blood. So this is basically a Carrie retelling, Carrie by Stephen King. But in this story, Carrie is white passing, and so in her town, she's basically found out that she's mixed race, and then basically she's bullied, and then it's a whole thing until she finally snaps. I think Carrie is pretty popular, like the movie, so I don't feel like I have to explain much. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely, it had like this podcast element that I think was really nice. Also, I would recommend listening with the audiobook. Maybe the audiobook I read, because I feel like the audiobook, they had different narrators and they all did different voices, and it was just like really good. Yeah, honestly, I even wanted more out of the snappy. So this is one that's definitely like, I don't know. I think I expected to be more scared, so I can recommend it. But it definitely had vibes, but it wasn't like super scary or anything. Where yeah, I honestly kind of wanted more, more blood and more gore when she finally snapped. But anyway, I really enjoyed it, and it also like obviously dealt with themes of like racism, and it wasn't just very black and white. And honestly, the main I said evil character should have suffered more. Those are my notes. So yeah, if I'm telling you to make it worse, then you know that it's not nothing to be worried about. But it was a really interesting book. Then the next book is Mexican Gothic. I read this like a while ago, so in case I don't remember anything. So what I remember is we have Noemi, who is like this heiress. She's rich, she lives in the city, very posh, very elegant. And then basically we have her cousin who has married into this family in like this, I don't know, call it rural area basically. And so her cousin sends a letter, saying that, she's scared and something is going on and she's worried. And so Noemi basically goes to this like to see her cousin and see what's wrong. It's kind of like rural-ish. How to call it rural? But it's very like far, not far away. It's not really that important to be honest. But yeah, and then we see like themes of like kind of expose like colonialism and like eugenics and things like that. Yeah, and then there's a thing with like mushrooms. It's not too bad or anything, but yeah, there's one scene with the mushrooms. I was just like, it was kind of disgusting. It was like, but yeah, from what I remember, I really enjoyed it, and it's again Mexican Gothic, so the name is a Gothic horror tale. I think like a lot of these are Gothic horror. I feel like Gothic horror is what I can manage. Like that's my limits so far. Because even though I have like a ton of horror recommendations that I like saved, I just like I don't think I'll ever reach that level where I can think I can read horror. But anyway, yeah, so Mexican Gothic, I would also recommend. So the next book I'm recommending is Slewfoot by Brom. And so we follow this main character, Abita, who is married to this man. And she's in this, basically we're following like New England. Basically, the people who settled from England, who left England to America. And so basically we're following her in this like type of colony, but she's basically an outcast because she does not conform to the very conservative beliefs of the people in this colony. But then basically her husband dies and then she becomes a widow, and basically she has to like fight for herself and for her rights. And anyway, she meets this creature in the woods and they form this friendship. But then as I said, she's an outcast, and so basically there are a lot of external forces you know acting, is that the word, like creating pressure. And then this basically leads to the point where Abida has to choose how she's going to like not express, but basically her relationship with this creature and how that's going to affect the whole town. Basically, that's like the most vague synopsis I can give. I read this in one day. I think something I noticed about this book is the fact that on the first few pages I was already so attached to Abitha, and I was so like angry because again one of another character that's so infuriating. So many characters are so infuriating and so annoying, and you just can't help but feel for Abitha and grow so attached to her. And so again, this is another book where I support women's wrongs and women's rights. And so yeah, you just get to see how these people treat her and how she's and then we see how that affects her and how that leads to what happens in this book. And so this book is like a very good example, I think, of feminine rage, because you see her just like snap and lose it, and it's like, ugh, it was so beautiful to read. So yeah, again, and then see, because obviously in this colonies there were like the witch trials and things like that. So yeah, so you can just imagine it's just very infuriating characters to read, and just to see this character like snap. And yeah, so that's another book I would also recommend. And the last book I'll be recommending is Small Favours by Erin A. Craig. And so we're following this main character, Ellery, and she lives in this town called Amity Falls, and they have like this set of rules, very isolated town, and then like they do like supply runs, like somebody will go and get everything that they need. They do very isolated, very small knit community, and so basically things are going wrong, things are getting stolen, there are mutated animals, there are attacks everywhere, and so basically we're just following what happened. I like this. This is also by Erin A. Craig, and I feel like I prefer this one much more. Also had one of my most irritating characters. Oh my gosh, Sam. Just I was so pissed. I kept reading this book. I was like, when is he going to die? Please please tell me that he's going to die. Anyway, I really liked Ellery as a character. I liked like her struggle because she's trying to figure out where she fits in her world. Also like the siblings as well. I feel like this one I really got to like, yeah, because I was comparing it to House of Salt and Sorrows, where I feel like I like this one more because there were less characters, so I could really focus on these characters. Again, I like the romance in parts, but there's one thing I'm just like, I'm not sure that I like this, but that does not take away from the story at all. The ending, the ending is intriguing. I think I'm not sure 50-50 on whether I like how it ends, but I really like again the atmosphere, and it was definitely very creepy because she thinks she's seeing things. I also really like the way she plays with the character, maybe losing her mind or losing her grasp on reality. I think that was really interesting. And we see this small town, and we see them like start to turn on each other, and even that is a horror in itself. These people that are supposed to be tight knit, but they're all turning on each other. So yeah, Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. So yeah, these are basically all the books that I'll be recommending. So again, if you want horror but you don't really want to dip your toes into like horror with too much gore and everything. So yeah, these are the books that I would recommend, and they still give you the horror autumn vibes. I guess horror and autumn. I think they just go together, no? So anyway, yeah. So these are all the books I'm recommending. I hope you find something here. I hope you read something here. I hope you like what you read, and please let me know if you do pick up any of these books on my recommendation, and if you actually like them, if you enjoy them. I'd really like to discuss down in the comments. Okay, so see you next time. Bye. Okay, oh wait, also please like, share, comment, subscribe if you'd like to. Anyway, okay, bye, thank you.